Cell Structures, Section 3. We have looked at what cells are and what's inside of a cell. A large part of the way a cell works, the word that we use for its work is function, is dependent upon the things that it has in its structure. Just like if you wanted to, let's say, hammer a nail, you might choose a hammer instead of a screwdriver because its structure is better suited to the job. Based on its structure, cells can be divided into several cell types, and we're going to look at those in this graphic organizer. We're going to start with the cell type that has free-floating DNA. Free-floating DNA means it's not in a nucleus. No nucleus is called a prokaryote. Bacteria cells, like the one pictured here, are prokaryotes. They have just a single chromosome, but they do contain extra genes in a way that eukaryotic cells do not, in their plasmids. If the DNA is in a nucleus, that cell is going to be called a eukaryotic cell, or eukaryotes. And there are three basic types of eukaryotic cells. We have, first of all, pictured over here, this circle-ish cell, an animal cell. And pictured to its left, we have two cells, and this is the plant, and this is the fungus cell. And the reason that these are separated is because plant and fungus have a couple of things that animal cells do not. The first is a cell wall, which is something that prokaryotic cells also have. So bacteria, plant, and fungus all have cell walls. Animal cells do not. You might ask, how can I tell the difference between a plant cell and a fungus cell? All you have to look for is the chloroplast, which is found only in plant cells and allow plant cells to photosynthesize. Something that all eukaryotic cells have, but bacteria cells are really too small to have, are vacuoles. To make a vacuole, the cell needs a Golgi and then space for the vacuole. That's something that's in pretty small supply in a bacteria cell because it's teensy. One thing an animal cell has that plant and fungus cells do not is a centriole, which is a structure that it uses to help it when it's going to divide, something we'll study later on in the year. And these are the main cell types. Some of those cell structures that we looked at to separate the types are special. They're wrapped in their own membrane, which gives them their own little environment. And they are called membrane-bound organelles, or MBOs for short. These are only found in eukaryotic cells. Again, the membrane is largely produced by Golgi, which prokaryotic cells don't have, so it'd be hard for them to make. They are shaped and made in ways that allow them to do very specific jobs, remember the word function, for the cell. And because they have their own special little environment created by their own special little membrane, they can do chemical reactions that other parts of the cell aren't able to do. They also often have folded membranes that increase their surface area and give them more space inside to pack in enzymes and chemicals. Some of the most important MBOs are the nucleus, the chloroplast, the mitochondria, and the vacuole. What do those do? Well, the nucleus protects the DNA. The chloroplast lets the cell do photosynthesis quickly and efficiently. The mitochondria lets the cell do cellular respiration more efficiently, which means the cell can make more ATP quickly. And the vacuole allows the cell lots of little storage spaces. All cells also have ribosomes, but they're not MBOs because they're not surrounded by membranes. They're essential, super important, because they put proteins together, but they're not included in this group of membrane-bound organelles. An MBO is a membrane-bound organelle. The most important ones are the nucleus, chloroplast, mitochondria, and vacuole. Having that membrane structure helps the organelle by giving it its own environment. And ribosomes, although super important, are not included in this group. In this lab activity, you're going to need to grab 2 Ziploc bags and 4 paper towels. Each Ziploc is going to represent a mitochondria, one of the MBOs. And the paper towel is going to represent its inner membrane. Follow the directions and answer the questions to see how folding that inner membrane really helps the mitochondria perform its function, which is to make cellular respiration a lot more efficient. When you're done, come back to this video. Our last topic for today is how organelles interact with each other. All of these cell parts work together to support the cell, to help it do what it needs to do to survive and perform its functions. For example, the cell needs energy. The 2 organelles that work together to provide cells energy are the chloroplast, which are found in plant cells, and the mitochondria, which are found in both plant and animal cells. The chloroplast catches light energy, and the mitochondria breaks down the sugar that the chloroplast makes. The cell also has to move things in and out. And in order to do that, it's going to use its ribosomes to make proteins that will then be used by another cell structure, which is the cell's plasma membrane. The proteins in the plasma membrane will allow the cell to move things in and out. One of the things a cell has to move out is waste products. The vacuoles help them to store that waste separate from the rest of the cell, so the entire cell doesn't get polluted by the waste products until they can move them out. The ribosomes are going to make special digestive proteins to help break the waste down, and then the cell membrane is going to be responsible for getting rid of that waste from the cell. And the cell has to make lots and lots of chemicals, especially proteins. The nucleus of the cell contains directions in the DNA that allow the cell to put together proteins that it needs at the ribosomes. So these are examples of how different organelles in the cell work together. The last 2 slides in this presentation include a Quizlet to help you practice and some questions to help you review what these concepts might look like on the test. Good luck!